I'm JT. I serve as the interim senior pastor here, and I want to welcome you to Maundy Thursday service here at First Congregational. I do want to let you know that the performers tonight, all listed in your bulletin, many thanks to them, will not be amplified in their speech. So we're trusting both their trained actor voices and your ability to locate yourself somewhere here where you have a shot at hearing them. So if you're in the back and have good hearing, you might be okay. If you're in the back and don't have good hearing, I encourage you to move forward. There's some room right up here, prime seating. Box seating is free. So welcome to this continuing engagement during what we sometimes call Holy Week. We've already begun engaging our ancient sacred stories last Sunday, Palm Sunday. And so we continue that tonight. We continue to engage our sacred stories and see what they have to tell us today about living. These ancient stories are there because they say what life is, how human beings are, how we are together, how we are with ourselves. And tonight we have another chance, thank you to the creativity of Jeany Snider, David, and all these actors, and our chancel choir, our director of music, Jared Fisher. We have a chance to be helped to engage these sacred stories again. So welcome. Welcome again to First Congregational.
What is truth? Does anybody know?
We all have questions.
Who are we? And who is God?
If there is a God,
Could there be another way? Why must we die?
And what happens after that?
We can agree on some truths, like life is better than death.
Love is better than hate.
God is love.
life is unfair.
Light travels faster than sound.
And cancer can sometimes be cured if we find it early enough.
But truth itself is another matter.
Truth just is.
The good with the bad.
The joy with the despair.
The presence and the seeming absence of God.
We tend to explain away the mysteries of life.
Because if we look it straight in the eye, it might reveal more than we want to know.
My husband was the governor in Judea.
Chief of the occupational forces.
Pontius Pilate, procurator of Rome, a straight-line party man with an eye for promotion.
I've never been too excited about moral values. Whenever I get the sense that someone's trying to set me a good example, I start edging towards the door.
Pilate's main job was to keep the peace in the colonies.
At any price.
I want Jesus to walk with me. I want Jesus to walk with me while I'm on this pilgrim's journey. Lord, I want Jesus to walk with me.
Jerusalem, you do not know who comes and what I come to give you. Oh, I have longed to gather you as a hen gathers her chicks, but you would not let me. One day soon, not one stone will be left on top of another.
No, don't do it, no! No!
Wake up! Wake
It's a dream.
Caesar is God.
Oh, here come the dogs for breakfast.
Caesar is God.
Caesar is gone.
Sir, the Jewish high holidays are upon us, and we expect trouble from the fanatics.
Then why are you here?
With all due respect, sir, we await your orders.
Oh, lucky me.
We also hope to inform you of the current situation with taxes.
Well, go ahead. Report.
First, taxes are not received.
Why not?
The people are full of the usual excuses.
You can't get blood out of a stone.
You can't make a Roman silk purse out of the year of a Jewish sow. What else?
There's an epidemic in the old slave district.
So?
There are complaints about bodies left in the streets to draw flies.
And orphan children scavenge among them for food.
No, it's disgusting.
Well, I'll see what we can do. Anything else?
There was some kind of demonstration at the city gate, with an upcountry messiah at the center of it.
Who?
Some hick from Nazareth came in on a mule, and people started waving branches and proclaiming him king.
Some even took the clothes off their backs, spread them out on the ground in front of him.
Singing and dancing and shouting, Hosanna!
Blessed be the King who comes in the name of the Lord.
So what's the big deal?
The hope of the Jews lies in an implausible dream that someday God will send them somebody to make everything right.
Yes, the Messiah, the one anointed by God.
A Christos.
Yes, to use the Greek word.
Some say he will come like the warrior King David of old, or like their great priest Melchizedek.
Or the revered prophet Elijah, who legend says never died, but was caught up into heaven in a chariot of flames.
His name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father,
And the Prince of Peace.
My.
and of the increase of his government there will be no end.
So the Jews think that this Nazarene is their Messiah?
Not all the Jews, a small group of radicals, illiterates, and ne'er-do-wells.
What do you think?
I don't think he's a king, a priest, or a prophet.
But some of his best friends are sex workers and vagrants.
And he criticizes the religious establishment.
Then why do they follow him?
They say he does miracles.
What kind of miracles?
Healing, casting out demons, turning water into wine.
Even bringing a dead man back to life.
Well, why should I be concerned with this man?
Because the crowds are waiting for a word to march against the Romans.
I thought he was the Prince of Peace.
Sir, peace for the Jews has never looked like being occupied.
The religious leaders are upset because they follow him rather than them.
What's his name?
They call him Jesus.
Oh,
Leave us.
Double the guard around the temple and have the whole garrison put on alert.
Until when?
Until Passover passes over.
Ungrateful wretches, the Jews never had it so good. Take care of all their problems. Are you all right?
no, I don't know.
Why do they go on knocking themselves out for a God who runs history when it's precisely history that has run over them, leaving them with nothing but their ancient superstitions?
Do you think there really is a God?
I've heard politicians, scientists, theologians, prophets, and poets. No one seems to be able to give me a good answer.
But what do you think?
I think we are alone in the universe with nothing but our own courage and ingenuity to see us through.
Do you really think that's true?
I don't know if I'd recognize truth if it were standing right in front of me.
In my trials, Lord, walk with me. In my trials, Lord, walk with me. When my heart is almost breaking, Lord,
story of the human race began in a garden with the first human.
The story of the one who would be called the truly human one would end in a garden.
When Jesus was in the garden, he still had options.
He could fight like the zealots. He was young. He had charisma. The people would fight for him to the death. He could do that.
Or he could withdraw like the Essenes, go out into the desert and start a safe little community. Many would follow him.
Or he could choose to collaborate with the chief priests. Imagine what reform Jesus could bring about if he had the temple as a platform for his teaching.
Or he could cut a deal with Pilate.
Imagine influencing the Roman Empire from the inside. What might that have done for the world?
Or he could have called on his God to be delivered.
Ask to be spared.
Ask for legions of angels.
Yes, maybe one more miracle would rally everybody to his side.
But he did none of those things.
I will not fight. I will not run. I will not deal. I will not dazzle. I will die. Not my will, but yours be done.
It didn't take long for the Jewish leaders to get steamed to the boiling point.
And if it wasn't for that rat Judas, the entire temple guard came to him while he was praying in the woods.
Large crowds gathered before our house in mourning.
Herod wouldn't deal with them, so they're bringing him back here, demanding that you convict him.
Why, has he committed some religious faux
They
pas?
say he's committing treason, claiming to be a king.
So now the Jews are friends with Caesar.
They want you to dispose of him.
Oh, I am not going to stir up a hornet's nest by making a martyr out of some local hero.
You'd stir up an even nastier swarm by setting the man free.
Who can keep up with the ins and outs of these Jews?
Religion has never been your cup of tea.
Wait! This man is from my dream! He is innocent! Please have nothing to do with him!
Requesting entrance to the governor's quarters.
Enter.
No, please!
Silence.
He had been roughed up and stood with his hands tied behind his back.
His upper lip was absurdly puffed out, and one eye was swollen shut.
He looked unwashed and smelled unwashed.
His feet were bare. Big, flat, peasant feet.
Although the man himself was of no remarkable size.
If it were just the two of them, I wonder what Pilate would have done. But the guards were watching.
And on the wall, the portrait of Tiberius Caesar, watching, with his big, fat, powdered face and his toothy imperial smile.
So Pilate went through the formalities.
So you're the king of the Jews.
Is this your question, or did someone put you up to it?
Am I a Jew? Your own nation has handed you over to me. What have you done?
My kingship is not of this world.
Oh?
If it were, my servants would fight, so I would not be handed over to the Jews.
So you are a king.
So you say.
You know, you sound like a politician. Are you a king?
For this I was born, and for this I have come into the world,
For what?
to bear witness to the truth.
What is truth?
Jesus doesn't answer Pilate's question.
He just stands there.
And stands there.
Even with his hands tied behind him, Jesus somehow manages to hold out silence like a terrible gift.
Don't you hear all the charges that they're bringing against you? I have the authority to determine your fate.
You would have no authority if it were not given to you from God.
I have questioned this Jesus and have found him guilty of no crimes.
He is stirring up trouble.
He's a menace!
He has committed blasphemy.
No!
custom, you may release one prisoner during this holiday.
I am allowed to release a prisoner to you at this time, shall I?
Not Jesus! We want Barabbas!
Then what shall I do with this Jesus, your Messiah, who is your king?
We have no
King but Caesar.
Pilate saw that a riot was developing.
Spare this man's life. You have the power to do it.
Crucify him!
Let him go! This is a righteous man!
Bring me a basin of water.
What are you doing?
Go ahead and crucify him since you have your heart set on it. I want nothing to do with it. I am innocent of this man's blood. Let it be on the barbarians' heads.
What do we tell the religious leaders?
Tell them to go to hell.
Before sending him to his crucifixion, Pilate had Jesus scourged.
It was a common practice of the time.
He was whipped with a flagellum, with leather cords knotted over shards of metal and jagged bones at the ends.
It was not unusual for the criminal to die under this punishment, so as to be spared from the greater one to come.
Jesus was not so fortunate.
Behold the man.
He wasn't much to look at after what they'd done to him.
But even so, there suddenly fell over that mob a silence.
They found themselves looking at a human being.
Jesus knew that rebels were killed by Rome. He did not die. A rebel named Barabbas would. Jesus' death on the cross saved him.
Many of us were just boys from nearby Syria, hired to work for Rome. The Jews were ready to fight for Jesus. All he had to do was say the word. But instead, a whole legion of Roman soldiers got to live. Jesus' death saved us.
Execution had been the fate of fugitive messiahs. Jesus knew that if he fled, his disciples would be gathered up and killed. No wonder they fled in terror from the one they loved. Jesus' death saved the lives of his followers.
Jesus knew that if he said the word and the crowds followed him, Rome would come down and destroy Jerusalem. He died to save Jerusalem.
He died for all the people who were disappointed in him, who didn't understand him.
Who cried out of their frustration and to their pain that he should be crucified.
He died for them.
He died for me.
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 He believed that through love, the cross could become more than a symbol of death, but a symbol of redemptive love.
And whatever one does or does not believe about Jesus, that is exactly what happened.
I will lay down my life for people that do not yet understand. That will buy a little time, a little space. A community will be formed. And out of sacrificial love, it will change the world. It is finished.
Surely this man was the Son of God.
irony. He wanted to wash his hands of the whole thing.
But now I find my very name in the middle of the Nicene Creed, recited by millions every Sunday.
Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice.
This is my husband Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea.
Still trying to make himself clean.
Not from something he's done, for which God could forgive him.
But for something he might have done, but didn't.
For which he cannot forgive himself.
Now it is he who cannot sleep.
What is truth?
And us all just to take a breath. The Easter cycle is full of stories that in some ways tell without hesitation, unabashedly, the shadow side of humanity. We see betrayal, we see the struggle of power and responses to it. So I'm still feeling that which just was told in my body. You may notice that in yours. The sense of the innocent one at the mercy of power. The one who chooses to break the cycles of repeated violence and injustice and exclusion at the mercy of power. There are many stories in our tradition from the different Gospels that are all the same. This has to do with John's community. John's Gospel is the oldest, that is to say, the furthest from these events. Or you could call it the youngest, depending on your perspective. It came the latest in the story, and by that time, it's really important to mention that by that time, the separation between this Jewish movement called the Jesus Way, followers of the Way, was the most separated compared to the other communities' gospels that we've received. And so the phrase, the Jews, is part of that representation of a community separated from its roots. It's very important for me to name this so we don't feed in to the anti-Semitism that the Gospel of John fed, for those so prone to it. This Gospel fed it because it came through in English as the Jews, as if they were one single group, and as if they were at fault. So I encourage you to just reframe that, to know that that is speaking about the community that the Christians used to belong to. And maybe in some ways we're still a bit hurting about that lost connection. But really that phrase talks about the people, humanity. It doesn't take too much of a historian to see that this story is not unique to this story. This is humanity. You might experiment with this story, play with it if you will for your own learning, and put yourself in the different roles. What are all the roles that we've played in this human story? Pilate's wife, centurions, just part of the system. Maybe Jesus. I've been mostly lucky that way. I'm a white, straight guy. And so in the systems we have set up now, there are a lot of things I don't have to deal with. I've had plenty of challenges. But I've had plenty of passes too. So some of you may have experienced things being in the Jesus role more than me in that way. Like the system was just set up against you. But I do invite us and encourage us tonight not to skip too quickly to the events to come. Certainly for those like me in the office, we're planning all sorts of things for a couple days from now. That's our job. But the job of each one of us, as people pursuing a spiritual path, seeking a truth that is life-giving, that's my answer to what is truth. It's what gives life to the people on the planet, to all the forms. The truth of this mystery, at least what I've come to see, is that we can't skip by Holy Thursday, Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, the time in the tomb, This is not a one-day thing. This is not a one part of the story. It's a cycle. It's a bigger story. Tonight we got a chance to taste a certain part of the story, and I encourage us to stay with it for a little while. To be with that witness to power, that witness to power that may not be connected at all to the good. There's a scene from Harry Potter. Anybody read that? Anybody? The end of the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry is invited to join the dark side. And what he's told is that there is no such thing as right or wrong. There's only power. In some ways, Jesus witnesses in this story certainly to something greater than simply power and those who have it in this kind of systemic realm. Jesus becomes the one trying to make a choice to end the cycles, to move us all forward, if you will, deeper, greater, and maybe still does today. But I want to thank this crew again for bringing this sacred story through, because I felt it. So thank you. I haven't felt this since Standing Rock, probably. As I stood at Standing Rock with the people, and I understood what it was to face power. Power well-equipped, well-funded. And the people trying to say, no, there's another way. We're here to protect the water. Underfunded, ragtag bunch, maybe like those who went in on Palm Sunday, excited to try to make a stand, and yet, when they got there, realized, wow, how is this going to happen? How do we move to that ideal? How do we follow that witness of Jesus? So tonight, I just ask you to be in this prayer of wondering what it is we do as humanity, what each one of us needs to face. What's the form of courage that we each need? That's what our congregation has been journeying with during Lent. Courage. What is a courageous faith? What did Jesus have when he set his face on Jerusalem and moved that way? What was that love that said, I long to gather you as a mother hen gathers her chicks? What is that dedication to see it through? What is that courageous faith? And how might each one of us and all of us together participate in that? So tonight I offer you that question, and the story has been offered to all of us to be with. And my encouragement is to not rush past it too quickly. Let the Easter cycle do its thing. Thank you again for coming.
Amen.
Let's stay with this prayer. The invitation is to grab that black hymnal that's in front of you, for those of you who are new here. Go to 218. And as you are able, in body and or spirit, to stand and sing that together.
218, right? 218?